All right. So factoring quadratics. A quadratic is just what we call a second degree polynomial. Degree, a little review, is the power that it has, so it's to the power of 2. And we have what's called a standard quadratic form, which just means we're going to write our quadratics the same each time. So standard quadratic form is ax squared plus bx plus c. What do you think a, b, and c stand for? Or what are those placeholders for? Numbers. A, b, and c are just numbers. All right. So notice this is in standard form. We're going down in terms of degree, our constants in the back. A, B, and C are just going to be numbers, and that's going to be important as we move forward. To preface this, like I've been saying, we're building steps. So this is just another step, another tool in our back pocket that we're going to keep using as we move through the unit. And then like your unit test, you'll do everything that we've done in Unit 7 all together at once. So that'll be fun. So your steps to using your X, or you want to call it like your magic X, some people call it. You're going to first figure out what your A, B, and C terms are. So again, those are numbers, which is why it's important. Ms. Reba, what do you need?
Today is just A equals 1?
Yeah.
Okay, is that what the quiz is looking to?
Mine at least, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, so A, B, and C are numbers. And then what we're going to do is, in our magic X, we're going to put the product of A times C on the top. So we're going to put whatever number, A times C is a number, that number is going to go on the top of our magic X. On the bottom of our magic X, we're going to put whatever number B is. All right, so B. And what we're going to do is, if you think of this as just filling in a chart, it's really easy. So we would have, these two are going to be given to us. Our two spaces on the side we'll have to figure out. And we can't just plug in any two numbers. There are going to be two specific numbers. Our two numbers that we plug in, they have to, when we multiply them together, they have to equal the number on the top. When we add them together, they have to equal the number on the bottom. So in other words, it has to equal the product of A times C on the top. So this has to be the product, so it's multiplication. If we think number and number, these two together are the product. Then we go the other way. On the bottom, when we add these two numbers together, we should get whatever our B value is. And to make this easier on all of you as we start, at your table, there should be at least one or two of these laminated sheets that have the it says factors 1 through 100. We're going to be using this just kind of on the notes, and you can use it on your homework too as you go through. So if you don't have one in front of you, grab one. You can share with the person next to you because it'll be a little helpful. So let's do the first example and factor this quadratic. We have x squared minus 11x plus 28. So what we're going to do is draw our x to start, our magic x. What I like to do too to start, as we're getting more comfortable with these, make sure you're labeling what your A, B, and C term are. So remember, if there's not a letter in front of a variable, it's a 1. So our A term here is equal to 1. Our B term is equal to negative 11. I'm taking the sign that's in front of the number along with it when I'm picking out my terms. So this is negative 11. All right. And then my C term is 28. Another way you could do it is instead of like writing it off to the side here, you could just write above each of them. You could say, well, this is A, this is B, and this is C. That's another way to do it. Less writing. All right, so on the top of the X, you take whatever your A times your C is. So that would be 1 times 28. So we put a 28 on the top. Our B term is negative 11. So that's what we put on the bottom. We put minus 11. And now this is where your factor chart you're going to use. So if you find, we're trying to find two numbers that we multiply, we get to 28. So what a factor chart does is it lists all the ways you can get to 28. So everybody find 28 on the factor sheet. It's going to be the bold numbers.
I don't have a factor sheet.
Share with Julian. And it says it lists the factors of 28. So we can get to 28 by taking 1 times 28, 2 times 14, and 4 times 7. So all of those multiplied together get us to 28. What we have to do now is figure out a way that we can take one of these pairs and add to negative 11. So if we add them as they are, 1 plus 28, that would be 29. 2 plus 14, that would be 16. 4 plus 7, that would be positive 11. But we want negative 11. So we can do some trickery here and change both of these to a negative. Say negative 4 and negative 7. Because negative 4 and negative 7 add to negative 11. And then negative 4 times negative 7 multiply to a positive 28. Because a negative times a negative is a positive. 28, you take your A value times your C value. So I took 1 times 28 and put it on the top. This is from the factor sheet. So on the factor sheet. Right, because 1 times, I'm saying 1 times 28 is 28. 2 times 14 is 28. 4 times 7 is 28. So these are all the factors of 28, which then help us multiply, figure out the number we multiply to, the number we add to. So all we do is we fill in our chart with the two pair that we found that worked. So negative 4 and negative 7, and then it doesn't matter which side they go on. So I could put negative 7 kind of on the left side of my X and negative 4 on my other side if I needed to.
Where'd you get negative 4 and negative 7?
Because, well, first 4 and 7 multiply to 28, but we need them to add to negative 11. So we make both of them negative. They still multiply to a positive number, but they then now add to a negative number. These are kind of, once you do more of them, you pick up on the patterns that are present. So it just takes a little bit of warming up to get used to these. Where they're both like the top and the bottom numbers. We'll get to an example like that. Yeah. All right, so next example, B. We're going to again do our X. So set it up. You can do it either way. You can list out your terms. So A equal to 1. So we have a 1 here. B is equal to 2. C is equal to negative 15. And then go ahead and try to at least put in your A times C and your B value.
So are you having them stop at the X, or are you having them factor
Stop
it
at
out?
the X, yeah.
Okay.
I'm saving factoring it out till after break.
So you're just doing
So
the
my
X.
X, my quiz tomorrow will be on factor by grouping and setting up the X.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so what should go on the top of my X? What? Negative 15. What should go on the bottom? So down here. 2. Wow, so you guys are acting shy.
I said.
You said 2. Say it loud and proud. All right, so we list out the factors of 15, or you just look at your factor chart. We have 1 and 15, 3 and 5. So now we have a case where the number on our top is negative, but the number on the bottom is positive. So if we just think we have to multiply it to negative 15, so we know one of these numbers are going to have to be negative to get to a negative number. Our bottom number is positive, so we know that we're going to have to stay positive when we add our two together. So this you can kind of do like a little guessing and checking. You could say, well, what if it's negative 1? Negative 1 plus 15 is going to be positive 14, so that's not going to work. Say, well, what if it's negative 15? Well, that would add to negative 14. Still not working for us. So it's going to be between 3 and 5, and it's just a matter of choosing which one is negative. Well, if we want to stay positive, positive 2, we need to make our 3 negative. Because negative 3 plus 5 is positive 2. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. So we fill in our x. Negative 3, positive 5. And again, we could have written our 5 over here and our negative 3 over here. I usually, if I have just one negative, I usually put it in the front because where we're going with this, factoring by grouping, it's easier if your negative's on that side of your x. All right. We got to go down to the next example, that's C. So I'll write it this way this time. We could put our A, our B, and our C. So A times C would just be negative 18 on the top. And your B value is negative 7 on the bottom. So now we have an example of a negative and then another negative. So if we list out the factors of 18, if you look on your factor sheet, you'd have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. So we're thinking of a way that we can add to negative 7 and multiply to negative 18. So if we have just a negative on top, we know one of these two terms has to be negative. We're adding to a negative and staying a negative. We know that like our larger like value number-wise should be our negative number, because if we add a smaller positive value, we'll stay negative. Right, negative 9 and positive 2, because that'll leave us in the negative range. We're on the left, on our number line, 9 down, we're only moving 2 to the right, so we're still negative. All right. Next example. What should go on my top?
ABC.
All right, yeah. ABC, I should do that first. I should label my points. John's being responsible, labeling his points. So what should go on the top of my X? Negative 40. All right, I got some participation. What should go on the bottom? 3. When I think, you can try to maybe start challenge yourself to do these in your head. When I think I have to multiply to 40, or I think my factors of 40, I think of 8 and 5. Right? Well, I know 8 and 5, the difference between them is 3. So I just have to make one of them negative so I can multiply it to a negative 40 but keep a positive 3. If I have a negative 8 and a positive 5, that would give me negative 3. So this should be a plus 8 minus 5. And then that's all, like, I haven't said this yet, but this is all we're doing today. We're just filling in this chart. Filling in the magic X. All right. The last two examples are a little, like, preview of what we're doing tomorrow. Where now our A term is greater than 1. So if we set up our X, we have to take our A times our C term now. So we have to take 2 times negative 9. So that's negative 18. And on the bottom, it's negative 7. So this is where it kind of benefits you to kind of like commit some of these to memory. Because we just did, even though these two problems start differently, here and here, we have the same X set up. So if you remember, oh, negative 18, multiply to negative 18, add to negative 7. If you remember, all right, that's negative. That's always going to be negative 9 and positive 2. You're good to go.
Where'd you get negative 18?
From taking, now you got to do your A times your C. So sometimes you'll see me draw like a little arc from A to the C to show we're multiplying the two together.
Always?
Always. And all the other examples, our A was just 1, so it didn't matter. But now it's 2, so it does matter. All right, last example. We take 5 times negative 7, put that on the top. That's negative 35. And negative 2 on the bottom. Look at your factors of negative 35, and you have to get it, so when you add them together, it's negative 2. If you just look at the positive factors of 35, one of them is 5 and 7. Well, this has a difference of 2. If we were to just take 7 minus 5, we get out 2. But since we need a negative 2, we should make our 7 negative and our 5 positive. So take negative 7 plus 5, get negative 2. So our X would look like this.